Hello, it's Nikki here, and joining me today are two amazing ladies from the FEWE brand, the new product range to support women's whole cycle care. Welcome to you both. It's really lovely to see you. I'm going to start with Rebekah. How did FEWE come about, and what was the thought process behind creating the brand?
Yeah, well, my background is in consumer products and specifically CBD, and I created one of the first CBD drinks brands in Europe. So I've been really interested in the ingredient and how it's used, but somewhat frustrated with the industry that the brands that are available don't really cater to consumer problems. They just sort of trade on the fact that they contain cannabis CBD. And I really wanted to create brands that really address genuine need in consumers, areas of white space that are underserved for whatever reason. And menstrual care is clearly one of those. It's been a category that has been drastically underserved for lots of historic reasons, but has seen real strides in the last few years in the sort of broader femtech space. But a lot of that advancement is really focused on fertility, which is obviously hugely important, but not a relevance for everybody. And also the menstrual care space in terms of period products has really come along significantly. There's some great new brands on the market that are really advancing the types of sanitary wear that people can access. So really great brands, but what struck me is that there's nothing that really caters to the myriad of different problems that people experience throughout the country. And not just the problems, but also the positives around that, and understanding really what's going on during that period of time. Yeah, I'm a woman of 40, and it's taken me 25 years and going through this process of building this brand to really understand some of the things that are happening and to address some of those. So I think that's a real shared experience across almost half of the population. So it's something that really deserves some attention. And I really wanted to create a brand that was inclusive as well. There's a really broad spectrum of people that experience hormonal fluctuations and cycles. And the experience that certainly that I had when I was 15 is very different from the experience I have now, and I'm sure will be very different over the next 10 years as I go into perimenopause and menopause. So I wanted to create products and solutions that are relevant across that spectrum and cater to those challenges and issues at different phases in people's lives.
Yeah, amazing. And you don't actually just see it as a brand, do you? But as a community to kind of encourage education about our bodies.
Yeah, look, it really is. I think the most important part of this is education. So this has been a huge educational process for me, learning about the science of myself. And that's what we want to empower people to do, learn about their bodies, learn about their cycles, because with knowledge comes power. Once you understand that, you can then start to access products, solutions, lifestyle changes that can really enhance your life. So this isn't a negative topic. This is about taking back the power, really understanding what's going on in our bodies, sharing those experiences with other people who are going to have had similar experiences to you, finding comfort in those experiences with other people in that community, and then accessing solutions that can really help you live your best life. And what we want to do, obviously, is provide some of those products and solutions that can really help people, because it's no good us being educated and then going into the stores and not being able to find anything or access anything that can assist us. And I think modern medicine has been somewhat dismissive of this for such a long time. And I think we've always had it ingrained in ourselves that there's no point in going to talk to a doctor about these things because it's just what happens and we just need to put up with them. And that's really not the case. There are so many things that we can do to help ourselves and to understand ourselves better.
A significant portion of your products focus on how the menstrual cycle affects the skin. Dr Ewoma, I wonder if you can come in on this. So how important is it for hormones and your menstrual cycle to be taken into consideration when thinking about skin health?
Yeah, it's super, super important. And I think it's kind of a connection that a lot of people take for granted. And, people that menstruate don't even realize kind of the impact that it can have on your skin. And I see this presenting a lot in clinic. I would say in terms of my skincare patients, I would say at least 70% struggle with acne, if not more. So it's a real sort of pervasive, issue that, women, people menstruate are facing at the moment. And really, I expect that number to rise. And I think, whenever I have that kind of initial discussion with my patients, I really just emphasize the importance of their menstrual cycle, their hormones. And I find that when I do that, it stops them from beating themselves up, because often they're like, I'm trying this entire skincare routine, I'm doing all the right things, I'm washing my face twice a day. Why have I still not got great skin? And it's kind of like, actually, no, there's other factors that you really need to take into consideration.
What are the key changes to the skin during the cycle that we need to be aware of?
So there's quite a few changes that happen to the skin throughout the menstrual cycle. So kind of starting with the beginning phase, so particularly when you're during your period, that's when obviously your estrogen levels and your progesterone levels are going to be particularly low, at their lowest. And that's when, there's going to be a reduction in the skin barrier function, and your skin has a tendency to be particularly dry and dehydrated. So that's going to be the perfect point within your cycle to really use more hydrating products. I'm going to shameless plug, such as FEWE's Thirst Trap. I'm absolutely obsessed with that serum. It has the most gorgeous texture. It's infused, of course, with CBD and hyaluronic acid. And it really just hydrates your skin from within. So definitely gravitate towards such products during that stage of your cycle. And then moving on to the next stage, just after your period, that's when, your estrogen levels, start to kind of rise and increase. And that's where you get an improvement to the skin barrier function. And then you get increased levels of collagen and hyaluronic acid production in preparation for the ovulation phase, where, I don't know about you, I feel my most beautiful self, super glowy. And that's, again, when your skin is just going to be at its best. And then after that, I guess things kind of take the turn for the worse in every sense of the word. As your hormone levels start to drop, specifically, your estrogen levels start to drop, and then also your progesterone levels increase. That's where you can get, increased oil production. That's where kind of spots under the skin start to brew. And then, you can get such issues such as clogged pores and acne. So in that phase, it's going to be super important to up your kind of anti-acne skincare routine. And that's really going to help to keep the acne at bay.
And what can people do to prevent that happening?
So again, I'm going to give a little shameless plug. So, and I've actually got it here in front of me, actually. So if you have a anti-blemish serum, and it's called Spot the Difference. And again, it's infused with CBD and also salicylic acid. And salicylic acid is a BHA, so a beta hydroxy acid. And that sort of acid is oil soluble, meaning that it breaks through kind of sebum on the skin, helps that declog pores. And that's really going to help keep breakouts at bay.
I'm going to come back to you, Rebekah, because I've heard quite a few times about this CBD oil ingredient. How does that benefit skin health, particularly relating to these hormonal symptoms?
Sure. So, CBD obviously is a hero ingredient within the range that we use, but our range in general is about using these intuitive, holistic ingredients that can work towards sort of better well-being. But CBD is a really important part of that. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's a natural compound that's found within the cannabis plant, of which hemp is a variety of cannabis plant, and where we get our CBD from. It's non-psychoactive and has really great health and well-being properties. It interacts with something when it's ingested called your endocannabinoid system, which is a system that exists within the body, which controls lots of different functions within the body that are linked to pain, mood, memory, cell functions. It's really, really complicated system. When it's used in skincare, it's very moisturizing, it's anti-inflammatory, so it really helps to soothe the skin. And it's also suitable for all types of skin, which is great when you're using it in a product like this. And what we've found is it works really well in conjunction with some of the other skincare actives that we're using. So Dr Ewoma mentioned there, having in your final phase of the cycle, when you're managing blemishes and sebum production, CBD moisturizes, but it's not going to clog your skin. So it's a really great ingredient to use in conjunction with salicylic acid. So it's a real hero ingredient for skincare. And I think it hasn't really been used in consumer products in that way before. And I think what we've done is create these hero products by making the best of CBD and using it with other ingredients. So we're massive fans, and we think it's particularly supportive across your menstrual cycle.
I'm a huge fan of CBD oil, and particularly because it helps with those hormonal imbalance symptoms, the mood, sleep, pain, all of that stuff, anxiety even as well. So having it in a skin range is even better because it's also helping your skin. So fantastic. How would you both encourage people who have a cycle to educate themselves and get started when it comes to menstrual health and their skin health? Who wants to go first? Dr. Ewoma.
Yeah, I'll go first. Quite a few things. Of course, starting with the obvious, making sure that they check out the FEWE website and products. If they want to know kind of more detailed information, there's great articles on there to help you navigate through your cycle. So definitely start with that. And then, of course, making sure that they follow kind of other sort of reliable sources of information as well, such as your podcast. And there's other amazing experts, on social media that can help to kind of inform people further. And then kind of touching upon a point that you mentioned earlier on, it sounds slightly anti-establishment, but I guess that I am slightly rebellious in certain ways. But I think, definitely what I've noticed with my patients, and obviously just, for the listeners, I actually used to work in the NHS previously. So I really have seen sort of the 360 sort of presentation of hormone health, everything from when I used to work in surgery, meeting women that had maybe had ruptured cysts, things like that, to working in GP land where I would, be literally sort of counseling women, on contraception, things of that nature. And through all of that, the common thread that I've noticed is that there's definitely, and to a degree, it's very understandable, but to a degree, there's somewhat of an over-reliance on, traditional healthcare professionals. And of course, definitely use them as a resource. They're educated, they're trained in this. But at the same time, I think we've almost put the responsibility on them. And it's kind of like, just tell me what to do. I'll just listen to whatever you say. And I find that dynamic really isn't productive. And I think it often puts, women on the back foot, and it, stops them from really taking charge of their hormone health. And I think at times in that interaction between women, people menstruate, and healthcare professionals, sorry to say, often healthcare professionals gaslight women too, and that's a real problem. And I hear it time and time again. And then lastly, definitely making sure that you approach your hormone health holistically. Again, I don't think, we can kind of stress this enough, but again, when people come to see me, they're kind of like, tell me what skincare routine I should do. And it's kind of like, okay, yes, I can tell you what skincare routine that you should use, but what else are you doing? What's your lifestyle like? What's your diet like? And then you see really what they need is a complete overhaul, of that area of their life. And I don't think people quite understand the connection and the importance. And I think to a degree, people don't want to address kind of the more holistic kind of factors because it takes more effort,
Yeah, it's hard. So yeah. Having a quick fix.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I'd suggest.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. And Rebekah, your last words, tips for us, anything?
So learning, which is what we want to empower people to do, to learn about themselves, learn about their bodies, also understand that it won't always be the same. So although, we've split our education up into these 4 phases, everyone will be different in how they experience them, and they will be different over time. So sharing those experiences within a community is really helpful because you kind of feel less alone when you understand that these fluctuations do occur. And I think I really agree with what Dr. Ewoma said there. I think the holistic approach is key, but often people don't take that approach because wellness is really about looking after yourself. And this is really what this is doing. It's taking control of your health, your well-being, and making the time to look after yourself. When I look back to my own personal experience, quite often the reason I haven't addressed some of these things is not because I can't be bothered, it's because I feel like I don't have time. And that's what better time is there spent than actually allocating the time to address those things and live a better life and be better for other people. So I think we need to kind of take control of ourselves, take control of our bodies, empower ourselves to be well and be better, and take the time to do that and be the best versions of ourselves.
It's going back to that self-care over and over, isn't it? It's always putting on your own oxygen mask first. It's the only way to go. But sometimes we women just need to constantly reminded of that, don't we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think that we can really use some of this stuff to be our best selves.
Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. And I'm really impressed with the whole range. I'm using it myself and it's incredible. So thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.